evaluating your ankle, I've come to the conclusion that you have a lateral ankle sprain. So for this first week, our plan of care is basically going to be RICEs, which is rest, ice, compress, and elevate the area. These are very good techniques in the early stages of your rehab and your prevention, or not prevention, obviously. But so the first thing we can start with is your ACE wrap. So I'll show you how to do it so that way when you're on your own, you can do it on your own. So basically what you do is you start at the bottom, wrap around. Now you want it to be tight, but you don't want it to be uncomfortable. So what you can do is basically just have enough stretch on it to where it's tight, but it's not uncomfortable, if that makes sense. If it ever does feel too tight, you can just take it off and retighten it yourself. So that way it is comfortable for you. But obviously not too loose to the point where it doesn't do its job. So, yeah. So you just follow the curves of your ankle, make sure you cover all the backside, and then go up at the end.
Do I have to sleep with this?
Yes, preferably you want to keep your ACE wrap on all the time except for like in the shower or if you're gonna get super sweaty. But right now you shouldn't be getting super sweaty, hopefully. So we'll just keep it on for most parts of the day.
Okay.
The next thing we're gonna go ahead and do, since you walk with a limp because of your sprained ankle, is give you crutches. So have you ever used crutches before?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and show me so that we can make sure that you're using them properly.
Do you want me to pick my foot up?
Yes. So for right now, what we're gonna have you do is keep yourself off it completely, since you just did it today. And later in the week, if you feel comfortable, you can start doing some partial weight bearing, but definitely still keep the 2 crutches with you for the week.
Okay.
Good job. Are you comfortable using the stairs, anything like that?
I think I can.
Okay. Again, go ahead and check in with us later in the week so we can make sure that you are still needing the crutches. And basically for today and the next few days, our main goal is going to be basically to decrease pain and inflammation going on in there. A couple things we're going to go ahead and do for that is game ready and deep oscillation therapy, which is X5. Do you have any questions about either of those modalities and what they do for you?
What's X5?
X5 is basically a deep vibration that penetrates the tissues deep inside and basically promotes healing to the area. So it's a very helpful modality. Also is a type of massage that's just lighter on the tissues than an actual massage where I don't have to push as hard and it's not as painful. And then game ready is the cold compression. So it's going to squeeze, and then it'll also be cold, which will just basically desensitize the area so you don't feel that discomfort at all times. For rehab, what we're going to have you do is just range of motion, essentially, since you don't have it. So what you'll have you do is bring your toes back all the way, and then point them all the way down. And you can do this 3 sets of 10. Going up is a set of 3 sets of 10, and then going down is another 3 sets of 10.
Okay.
And then the other one you're gonna do is, sometimes you might need a buddy to hold it, is go ahead and point your toes inward, and then relax. Point your toes inward, and relax. The fourth one you'll do is point your toes out, so you're gonna reach out, and in, out, and in. Good job. The next thing we'll have you do is seated calf raises. So if you wanna jump on over to the chair, what you'll have to do is sit down, and then you're going to go ahead and just lift at your toes and relax. This is easier than the calf raises that you'll do later in the week. If you're feeling comfortable, we'll move it up. The next few things that we can have you do to work on your range of motion is later in the week I can give you a TheraBand, and so that way when you're in your room and you're feeling, ooh, I want to do some exercises, you can do the TheraBand, and it's a super great exercise. Do you have any questions?
How do I use the TheraBand?
Okay, so go ahead and hop on the table again. Go ahead and slide all the way back. What you'll do is you'll put the TheraBand around your foot. Usually right there is the more comfortable area. You'll hold it, and then you'll point your toes down, and then you'll bring it back up. It's the same motions,
Okay.
except this time you just have a band that resists, but we'll only wanna do this, later in the week, once you're more comfortable, with the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Well, one more thing is just make sure that you rest, ice, and elevate it as much as possible. And if you need any further help, you can come back into the clinic.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you.